I'm about to show you exactly how you can save 100 hours or more as a product designer each month using AI. Because writing meeting notes, typing out PRDs, and manually dragging rectangles around in Figma isn't the work that actually matters. What matters is understanding the problem, talking to users, and making good decisions about what to build. So in this video, I am going to walk you through the 7 AI tools I use every day to cut out all of that low leverage work so that I can focus on the parts of product design that actually move the needle. So let's get into it. Now the first tool we're going to be going over is Flowstep, and it saves me the most time by far. As a product designer, the majority of your early design work isn't about making something beautiful. It's about getting an idea out of your head and onto a screen so that your team can look at it together and react. Because until everyone is looking at the same thing, you're all picturing something slightly different in your heads. The problem is, doing that in Figma takes forever. Even moving fast, you're looking at an hour or more just to get the basic layout together. And that's just the first version, because then someone gives you feedback. You go back and change it. You meet again the next day, and before you know it, days have gone by to just align on one concept. That's actually why Flowstep exists. It is built to get past that bottleneck where the thinking is done, but the execution is holding everything up. So the way Flowstep works is, instead of building everything manually, you type a prompt describing what you want, and it generates a full editable UI in seconds. Let me show you exactly what I mean. So I am going to design a SaaS analytics dashboard from scratch. I'll just describe what I want. A dashboard for a SaaS analytics tool with a dark theme. Now let's see what it gives us. Okay, so that took a few seconds, and I have already got a fully built out dashboard with charts, key metrics, recent activities, and even the underlying code populating on the side. If I had done this manually in Figma, it would take at least an hour just to get to this point. And not just a single screen, you can generate multiple screens at once, covering the entire user journey. So instead of spending a full day mocking up an onboarding flow screen by screen, you can describe the flow, and Flowstep gives you the whole thing at once. Now the reason this works for professional design and not just quick throwaway mockups is the level of control you get after that first generation. So let's say I want to take this further and explore some variations on the design. I can click the edit dropdown and see all my options. Things like switching themes, trying a different layout, or asking it to make the design more polished. Let me go ahead and try a different visual style. See how it updates right there? I didn't have to rebuild anything. I just click on an option and Flowstep adjusted everything for me. You can drag in reference designs, screenshots of competitors, or even paste in your PRD, and Flowstep uses all of that as context when it generates. So if you have a specific visual direction in mind, but it's hard to put into words, you just show it, and the output is way closer to what you actually wanted on the first try. And from there, you iterate just by having a conversation with it, and it updates the design right there on the canvas. And once you're happy with the direction, getting it into your existing workflow is simple. So I'll just type in something vague to see what happens. Flowstep actually asks questions to figure out what it is I am trying to build, and once I tell it I want an e-commerce store, it generates 5 full mobile screens for me at once. I didn't have to design each screen separately. The whole flow comes back from one prompt. You can copy and paste any screen straight into Figma, and it lands as real editable layers, not a flat image. So you can keep refining from there. On top of all of that, you can also export the code directly for dev handoff, which we're actually going to use later in the video. And the concept phase is supposed to be the cheapest and fastest part of the design process. That's where you're exploring, testing ideas, and getting feedback. You shouldn't be spending hours on execution at that stage. Flowstep compresses that whole phase into minutes, which means you can spend more of your time on the work that actually requires your judgment, like figuring out whether you're even solving the right problem in the first place. If you want to try it, I will leave a link in the description where you can get started for free. So now that we've got the design side covered, let's talk about meetings, because as a product designer, you are in a lot of them. Discovery calls, sprint planning, and user interviews. The problem is, if you're trying to take notes while also being present in the conversation, you end up doing both things poorly. You either miss important details, or you're so focused on writing things down that you're not actually listening. Granola solves this by running in the background and handling the notes for you. It captures the audio from your device and transcribes everything, but it doesn't join your call as a bot. So there's no awkward thing that says, Granola bot has joined the meeting, or something like that. And what you get back isn't just a raw transcript, it gives you structured notes broken down by topic with action items pulled out automatically. You can also type your own notes during the call, and Granola enhances them with context from the transcript. So you get your own emphasis and priorities combined with the AI making sure nothing gets missed. But the biggest time saver isn't even the meeting itself. So here's what Granola gives you after the meeting. As you can see, it's broken everything down by topic and the action items are already pulled out at the bottom. I didn't have to clean any of this up. This is exactly what it looked like when I opened it after the call. Instead of cleaning up the notes or rewatching a recording, you just open Granola and everything is already organized. And you can also ask it questions about your past meetings. So if you're trying to remember what a stakeholder said about 3 weeks ago about a specific feature, you just type it in and it pulls it up for you. That way you're not spending any time cleaning things up anymore. You just move straight on to the next thing on your list. This next tool changed how I write literally everything. PRDs, Slack messages, emails, documentation, letters to my mum. Whisperflow is a voice-to-text tool that lets you talk instead of type, and it works in any app on your computer. You hold a hotkey, speak naturally, and it converts your speech into clean, formatted text. And what makes it different from regular dictation is how smart the output is. So here's how this looks in practice. You just hold the hotkey, speak naturally, and the text shows up clean in whatever app it is you're in. And what comes out is clean, formatted, and has no filler words at all, so all of your ums and ahs are pulled out. It also automatically adds punctuation and formatting without you having to say period or comma. And as you just saw, if you correct yourself mid-sentence, it only outputs the final version, so you don't even have to go in and tweak anything. For designers specifically, this is really useful because so much of our job isn't actually designing. It's writing product specs, documenting design decisions, giving feedback in Figma comments, and updating Jira tickets. All of that typing adds up, and Whisperflow lets you get through it in a fraction of the time. They claim that you can talk 3 to 4 times faster than typing, and from my experience, even as a fast typer, that is 100% true. I use it for pretty much everything at this point. Anytime I need to write something longer than a quick reply, I just talk instead of type. Okay, so let's move on from writing to thinking. Claude is the AI I use as a thought partner throughout my design process. There are a lot of LLMs out there, but the reason I use Claude specifically is that it is good at nuanced, longer form reasoning. When you are working through complex product decisions, you need something that can hold context and think through trade-offs with you, not just give you a surface level answer. So here's how it fits into a product designer's workflow. Before you start designing anything, you can paste in a problem brief or user research findings and ask Claude to help you think through the solution space. Not to give you the answer, but to pressure test your thinking so that you can ask it what you might be missing or have it walk you through the trade-offs between 2 different approaches. It's also really useful for writing the documentation that comes with product work like PRDs, design specs, and feature briefs. So let me show you what this looks like. I'm going to paste in a brief for a workout streaks feature on a fitness app and ask Claude to write the PRD. And look at what comes back. A full PRD with the problem framed, user goals broken out, key requirements written as their own subsections, and success metrics tied to retention. You give it the context of what you're building and who it's for, and you get back a structured doc that's actually ready to take into a planning meeting. Next, I want to talk about Nano Banana. Now, when you are designing product UI, you often need placeholder images. The usual approach is to go to Unsplash or a stock photo site and spend time searching for something that kind of sort of works, but it never quite fits, and you end up compromising on the visual direction of your design because you're limited by what's available. Well, Nano Banana is Google's AI image generation and editing model, and it is useful for creating custom images that actually match what you need. So I'm going to generate a hero image for a product page. I'll just describe what I want. Something like a lifestyle photo that would work for a fitness app. And there it is, in just a few seconds. Now, let me try something else. I'm going to upload an existing photo and tell it to change the background and warm up the lighting. You describe what you want in plain text and it generates the image. Or you upload an existing photo and tell it what to change, like putting a person in a different setting, adjusting the lighting, or something warmer, or turning a casual shot into a product photo. And it is fast too. Most generations take just a few seconds. For product design specifically, there are a few ways that this comes in handy. You can generate realistic placeholder content that stays consistent across all your screens instead of trying to find a dozen stock photos that happen to work together. And if you're working on a pitch deck or presentation, you can generate custom visuals that match your design system. So at this point, we've covered designing, meetings, writing, thinking, and images. But what about when you actually need to build something? Well, as a product designer, there are times when you need a working prototype and not just a static mock-up. Maybe you want to test an interaction that's hard to communicate in a Figma prototype, or you want to validate a concept with users using something that feels closer to the final product. Cursor is an AI-powered code editor that makes this possible, even if you're not a developer. So earlier I showed you how Flowstep generates editable screens from a prompt. The next step in that workflow is taking those screens and turning them into a real running app. Each screen Flowstep generates exports as its own self-contained code base, which is great for handoff but doesn't give you a working app on its own. This is where Cursor comes in. I can open the project in Cursor and ask the agent to consolidate everything into one app that I can run in the browser. Cursor goes through every file, rewriting components, fixing imports, and building out the routing so all the screens fit into one cohesive flow. Once it's done, I can hit run and see the entire app working live in my browser with the home screen, library, search, profile, and player all wired up. You describe what you want to build in natural language and Cursor writes the code for you. It's built on top of VS Code, so if you've ever used that, the interface will feel super familiar. But even if you haven't, the AI handles most of the heavy lifting. And the reason this is valuable for designers is that you're no longer just handing off a static file and hoping the developer builds it the way you imagine. You can build a working version yourself and show your team exactly what you mean. Now, I'm not saying every designer needs to learn to code, but having the ability to spin up a working prototype without waiting for engineering resources is a big advantage. The last tool is NaN, and this one's a bit different from the rest. Where the other tools speed up a single task, NaN connects your tools so that they all work together automatically. NaN is a workflow automation platform. Think of it like Zapier, but with a lot more flexibility and control. It lets you connect different apps and automate tasks that you'd normally do manually. For a product designer, the most valuable thing about NaN is automating the repetitive stuff that sits between your tools. So here's a workflow that I built that automatically follows up with new users. When someone signs up through Supabase, the webhook fires and starts the flow. From there, NaN waits 48 hours, then runs a quick check in Stripe to see if that user has converted to paid or stayed on the free plan. Based on the result, it sends a different email through Gmail tailored to where that user is in their life cycle. You can see the nodes and how they connect right on the canvas, so it's easy to follow what's happening at each step. These kinds of tasks are small individually, but they add up to hours, even weeks, when you're doing them manually. And what makes NaN different from something like Zapier is that you can self-host it and you get way more control. You can write custom JavaScript or Python if you need to, and it has over 400 integrations. It also has built-in AI nodes, so you can add things like automatic summarizations or data extractions into your workflow. workflow. And unlike Zapier, the pricing doesn't spike as you scale, which matters if you're running a lot of automations. Now, if you want to start saving time specifically on your design workflow, the first tool I'd recommend trying is Flowstep, which is the tool we went over at the beginning. You can click the first link in the description to get started for free. It lets you generate editable product UIs in seconds just by typing what you want, like I showed earlier. Drag in references to guide the output, and then copy and paste everything straight into Figma when you're ready. Again, it will be the top link in the description. And again, if you want to learn more about how to speed up your design workflow with AI, check out this video next.